Archetypes of subditi auctoritatis, from Romans chapter 13. Subditi auctoritatis means submit to the authorities. The Apostle Paul in the New Testament chapter 13 to the Romans encourages everyone to be subject to the authorities. You might be asking, why am I using Latin words quite often? Because Latin is the soul of languages. Not only languages like Italian, French, Spanish, and Romanian, but also Anglo-Saxon and Germanic languages. And it is the shadow of most languages in the world, excluding the Middle East and Far East. So being the shadow and the soul, it is used very often on academic levels up to this day. What about the word archetypes? Why did I use this word as a title? Because in a few years ahead, we will be looking back and asking what were the types of authorities in the year, etc., etc. We know that the authority starts from the family. So there is a hierarchy also in the family, and it is respected. And then we go down the line to the borough, to the town hall, borough of the neighborhood. And then there is the city hall of the city where you are living, and the mayor. And then the local authorities of the government working with that city. And then the regional authorities, the region where the city is located. And then the national authorities of the whole territory. And all this comes from the Roman system, the ancient Romans. So the national government includes the executive, the judiciary, the media, the military, the jurisprudence, and other sectors. And then we have in parallel, alongside, the spiritual authorities. We have to be subject to them also, even if we don't agree on the framework, on the line of preaching, of believing. We have to submit to them. Because if you can't beat them, join them. So spiritual authority can be considered to reduce cognitive dissonance as a state authority. Spiritual authority, consider it as a state authority. So it seems you are dealing with spiritual men, but in reality you are dealing with the statesmen and stateswomen between you and yourself. And the Bible asks us to be submissive to the authorities. So if you consider them like statesmen and stateswomen, then you have to be submissive to them. Subditi auctoritatis, as I have coined it. And most spiritual leaders in the world, of any color, of any religion, they have very strong ties with the government of that territory. So they become a shadow authority to the real authority, the local authority, the layman authority. And they become also an authority in parallel. So they influence the government of any country you can think of. So by influencing them, they become part of that government. It's a logic, no? So if they become part, then automatically you have to consider them as no more spiritual leaders, but laymen. So statesmen and stateswomen. Even if from the outside it seems not like that, let it be. Let it be, let it seem whatever it wants to look like. The important is between you and yourself that you are submissive to them, and everybody will be happy. So excellent relationships with everyone. This is what also the New Testament asks us to do, to have excellent relationships with everyone, so we can live in peace. So local authorities, regional authorities, national authorities, spiritual authorities in parallel, and then we have the continental authorities. So the authorities of the continent where you are living. For example, in Italy, we are living in the European continent, so we are part of Europe. Continental means European Union, EU. So to be submissive also, subditi auctoritatis to Europa. And if there are contrasts between the continental laws and the national laws, let the statesmen and stateswomen resolve it. But in the meantime, we as citizens, we have to be submissive to the national laws and to the continental laws, if our country became part of the continent. Not geographically, of course, but politically, I mean. And then after continental, we have international authorities. So to be submissive to the international authorities, like, for example, the United Nations. And the ultimate authority, and this is what I'm adding up now, I'm adding it from my own mind, so my own Gnostic, Gestaltic, and Noetic thinking, farina del mio sacco, as we say in Italian, thought from my own brain, and that authority is and are the internet social media authorities. The internet social media authorities. They are also an authority, and we have to submit to them. They are very powerful. I'll give you a small example. If you have your friend at work that gives you the latest news of the company at the end of the day, and you are very interested and you open your eyes and your mouth and you listen to the latest news of the company at the end of the day. And then you have another colleague that will give you the news 1 minute after it happens, or a few seconds after it happens, or 5 or 10 minutes after it happens. So I ask you now, who is more powerful? The friend, the colleague that gives you the news at the end of the working day, or the friend, the colleague that gives you the news after 1 second or 5 minutes when it happened? Well, you will say, the friend that gives me quicker the news. That's exactly what I want to say. And now I'll turn it from the other side. Who is able to know what you are filming, what you are saying, and what you are communicating in a brief manner, very quickly, 1 second after you have done it, and not at the end of the day? Who is able to know those information, whatever you have filmed, whatever picture you have taken, whatever information you have given, long information or very brief information, just 1 second or 1 minute after you have thought it or after you have done it? Is it your local government or the international government, or is it someone else? Well, you will say, don't tell me that it is the internet social media authorities. Yes, and you have said it, authorities. Well, you will say, even the local authorities of the same country knows exactly what you are saying on the phone and what you are posting and what you are filming. At the same time, when it is published, for example, through the YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, the same government knows, because it is transmitted through the line, which can, if they want, they can, also the local government can know, at the same time as the social media of that same country. And my answer is yes, yes, of course. But what about the citizens of that same country living in another country? Let's say 10,000 people of that same country we have just mentioned, living in another country. And that other country has no relationships with the first country. So how can the government of the first country know what their own citizens in another country is doing? You will say, well, it will be quite difficult through the embassy, but the embassy has limited powers. Exactly. and tell me who is able to know whatever is being filmed, pictured, written in a long form or in a short form, every citizen around the globe. You will say the internet, social media. Exactly. You forgot the word authority. Oh yes, authorities. So thank God for those new authorities now, which I have coined them as new authorities, to be added to the local, national and international authorities, like the YouTube, the Facebook, the Twitter, and those are the social media moguls. But there are many, many other small ones, and some of them will become very, very big in the future. And they will be all working together with the local governments and international organisms. Just a sideline note, in 1978, I enrolled in computer courses. So 1978, many, many years ago. And the computers were as big as a room. And there was the key punching and the paper cards with the holes. And it was all right at the beginning. And I did various courses. And also programming COBOL and Fortran, very old programs. And I studied all that material. And I was actually quite good. I remember being the first hacker in the area, and I could block the computers and just pretend that I don't know anything what's happening. And then a few minutes later, I would take off the blockage and everybody will be working again. But I forgot how to do it, and I did not become an expert in these things. It was only 78, 79, and that's it. And then I was informed of everything like now, and I'm always informed, but I'm not an expert on those things. But something I do know is that when you post something and then you think it is online and you check and it is online, actually it could also not be online for a few seconds or a few minutes according to how they desire, and they check on what you have written. So you think it is online, but it's not online until they decide to put it online. And that is in some cases. In the majority of cases, it goes online directly. But in some cases, if they want, and I know that through my studies, they can do a way where you think it is online, but it is not. So actually, they can know before even the local government. Unless, of course, someone is tapping personally your PC or your devices. So what I'm trying to say is that they have a very big power, and it is more than the local governments, especially if those governments want to know information about their own citizens abroad. No one can know it better than the internet social media. So subditi auctoritatis to the social media as well. And I remember before the advent of the YouTube, I was one of the first in Italy to use it. And even the Facebook, I was one of the first in Italy to use it. And then I unsubscribed because no one was subscribed to it. And I was talking, no one knew it. And after a few months, I cancelled. Actually, it was not very easy to be cancelled. And then a year and a half later, I subscribed again. So I remember before the advent of YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, it was very, very expensive. I had my own website, Zaccaria.it, Zaccaria with the K.it, in 1998. And it was very expensive to put the audio information there and video information, because I had to use the Word Windows programs, Flash programs, etc., to see the video or the audio. And even pictures were quite difficult to upload, very slow. And then at the dawn of the third millennium, we have those wonderful social media, and we did not use them properly at the beginning, in 2004, 5, 6, 7. And then gradually we started using them much, much better way. and they are unbelievably cheap. Not cheap, they are free of charge. I say cheap because I do some promotions in the YouTube, Facebook, etc. I use promotion, so it's not completely free for me, but there is no minimum or maximum. I can choose whatever I want to invest. So thank God for them, and let's pray for them and for the authorities that will judge in a wise way and keep peace and harmony among humanity. May God be praised forever.